Disclaimer: the following program is designed to offend, provoke, and challenge your religious sensibilities. It contains content that will likely offend anyone who holds religion sacred. This is for those with thick skin or a taste for the harsh truth. If you're easily offended or cherish your religious views, please turn off now. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. You have been warned. Welcome to VersaTroll and Part 3 of Project Megiddo. Let's talk about Christian identity, the theology for white supremacists who wanted their racism baptized and their bullets blessed. In this worldview, Jesus isn't a Jew. He's a blond warlord. Jews, literal offspring of Satan. And Revelation, not scripture, a battlefield map. Like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't. I post whatever I'm obsessed with that week. If that doesn't offend you, just wait. Something else I post will. This channel runs on offending believers. Let's finish the last chunk of Project Megiddo and see what else the feds were freaking out about. Christian identity teaches that white Europeans, specifically Northern Europeans, are the real Israelites, not spiritual descendants, not metaphorical heirs. Straight up reads God's chosen race. According to them, Adam was the first true Aryan, and everyone else is the beasts of the field. But it gets even more biblical. They say Eve had 2 children, Abel, child of Adam, Cain, child of Satan, via serpent seduction. Cain, the supposed seed of the devil, then slept with these non-Adamic races and created the Jews. Not a metaphor. That's the origin story they teach for the Jewish people. So if you're wondering how they get from Genesis to genocide, this is it. It's called the Two-Seedline doctrine, and it's the religious foundation for biblically justified hate by these specific groups. This whole idea started as British Israelism, a fringe belief that the British were the lost tribes of Israel, but when it crossed the Atlantic, it mutated. Wesley Swift, a California preacher and radio host in the 40s and 50s, is the guy who turned it into Christian identity. He didn't just preach that whites were the chosen race, he fused it with conspiracy, anti-Semitism, and political violence, and gave it a broadcast signal. Then his associate William Potter Gale brought in the paramilitary flavor, anti-tax, anti-government, fully armed. From that, you get churches, compounds, survival training, and stockpiles of ammo. You get Aryan nations. You get the theology of apocalypse, but with Nazi branding. Christian identity doesn't just predict the end of the world. It demands it, according to them. The millennium brings the final war. The Jews, the U.S. government, and the UN are the enemy. The white race is God's army. The second coming is when Aryans finally rule the earth. They even say the mark of the beast will be something the chosen ones are forced to take if they want to do business. A classic spin on Revelation, just with a racial twist. It's the Turner Diaries meets Left Behind, but the authors are in a bunker with a radio and a grudge. Here's what this really means. This isn't just belief, it's battle prep. Christian identity followers train like it's war. Stockpile food and guns. Isolate on compounds. Wait for the command from Revelation. Or their preacher. And when they say God will use his chosen race as weapons, they mean it literally. This is Bible-based warfare theology, with the trigger already cocked. Christian identity doesn't live in isolation. It's part of a rotating cast. Militias, neo-Nazis, skinheads, KKK, Aryan nation, survivalists. They bounce between groups, share the same apocalyptic memes, and swap scriptures like ammunition. There's no single doctrine, but the pattern is clear. White race equals God soldiers. Jews and non-whites equals satanic enemy. Government equals beast system. And the millennium? That's when it all goes live. Christian identity isn't just a theology anymore. It's a fuse, and the government knows it. This FBI report makes it clear. They're not just preaching, they're networking, stockpiling, and recruiting. Christian identity is the one-size-fits-all theology for white supremacists. It baptizes racism, it canonizes hate, and it gives Revelation a body count. They're not reading scripture for comfort, they're using it like a war manual. This isn't just apocalyptic Christianity, this is apocalypse for Aryans. We aren't talking about your normal run-of-the-mill Christians that go to bake sales. The scariest part? It could be, though. The problem is there's no single Christian identity headquarters. You've got tiny churches with a dozen followers, national movements like Aryan nations, lone actors with a Bible, a gun, and zero oversight. It's like a terrorism startup scene. Decentralized, modular, and ready to explode. And when one group feels too soft, they upgrade to something more extreme. This is how you get splinter cells, leaderless attacks, race war theology. The Aryan nations isn't just a group, it's the hub. Headquartered in Hayden Lake, Idaho, it hosts an annual World Congress where Christian identity churches, neo-Nazis, militia, skinheads, and anti-government radicals all come to mingle, trade hate literature, and coordinate their end-of-world plans. Imagine a Pentecostal revival, but instead of altar calls, it's ammo crates and Turner diaries. Let's talk about their alumni network. Bob Matthews started the Order, murdered people, robbed banks, called it a holy mission. Chevy Keogh spent time at the Aryan Nations, later convicted of triple homicide. Buford Furrow Jr., the Aryan Nations security guard turned domestic terrorist, opened fire at a Jewish daycare in Los Angeles. These guys weren't lone wolves. They were trained believers who turned doctrine into death. There's a new flavor of extremism growing inside Christian identity, the Phineas priesthood. What do they believe? That God authorizes them, personally, to kill interracial couples, bomb abortion clinics, rob banks, burn porn shops, murder sinners, and sabotage anything tied to Jews or the U.S. financial system. They think they're enforcing divine law, modern prophets with pipe bombs. And within their world, Phineas priest isn't a warning label, it's a badge of honor. This page confirms it. The government knows these people aren't just talking, they're arming, they're cross-pollinating, and they're just religious enough to justify anything. When you mix doomsday prophecy with racial supremacy and a decentralized network of true believers, you don't get church, you get a theological insurgency. We've moved past Jesus now. This is straight up race war prep. The FBI isn't guessing here. They're documenting how white supremacist groups, with or without Bible verses, are gearing up for the same apocalyptic finale. Some cite Revelation, some just want revenge. Either way, they're building arsenals and calling it doctrine. Not all racists read Revelations. Some of them read Hitler, or the Turner Diaries, or both. Groups like National Alliance, American Nazi Party, National Socialist White People's Party don't bother with scripture. They're politically motivated, not religious, but they still believe in the coming collapse, and they're ready to help it along. William Pierce, author of the Turner Diaries, literally said, eventually we must hunt them down and get rid of them. That's not metaphor. That's a to-do list. The FBI notes that modern KKK groups are too infiltrated and monitored to mount a major threat. But that doesn't mean their members aren't moving sideways into other outfits, like Odinism, Christian Identity, the World Church of the Creator, WCOTC. This isn't a theological debate, it's a migration path. If one hate group's not violent enough, there's always another one that is. The tagline for WCOTC is, one's race is his religion. That's their tagline. And yes, they mean it. Jews run the government. Racial holy war is coming. It's called Rahawa. And they're not subtle about it. Their founder, Ben Klassen, built a theology around it. His successor, Matt Hale, turned it into a movement. And then came the violence. Benjamin Smith, a WCOTC member, went on a killing spree over July 4th weekend, left behind writings calling for attacks at the Millennium. Florida, WCOTC members pistol-whipped a Jewish store owner, said it was to fund the revolution. James and Benjamin Williams, synagogue arsons, suspected in gay murders and arrested with a weapons cache that would make a militia blush. These aren't fringe acts, they're rituals of initiation. Odinism is basically when white supremacists outgrow Jesus. Not all racists want a New Testament. Some want Norse mythology. With a martyrdom clause, Odinism teaches white equals light, non-white equals dark. Dying for your cause equals glory. Just ask Bob Matthews, leader of the Order, who died in a firebomb shootout with the FBI, or William King, who bragged about getting the death penalty after dragging James Byrd Jr. to death behind his truck. Odinists don't believe in Jesus, but that doesn't stop Christian identity believers from switching teams if the violence is better. Here's the FBI's bottom line. The millennium might have just been a calendar glitch to you, but to these groups, it was the prophecy window, the political excuse, the perfect storm. You had cults waiting for Jesus, you had racists loading magazines, and you had the government trying to figure out which would strike first. They weren't reading Revelation anymore. They were writing their own. And while we can't say it's only Christians that do this, it's a tool both the government and these groups capitalize on for their own agendas. So here's where we land. Christian identity didn't just distort scripture, they turned it into a doctrine of war. They baptized racial supremacy, armed it with prophecy, and handed it out to every fanatic who wanted divine permission to shoot first. No headquarters, no central church, just a theology spread like wildfire through compounds, shortwave radio, and bunkered Bible study. And when it wasn't enough, they invented more. New creeds, new cults, new enemies. Same outcome. This wasn't belief gone bad. This was a blueprint for collapse. Aryan nations, Phineas priests, Odinists, WCOTC. They didn't just want the world to end, they wanted front row seats and starring roles. The millennium was never just a calendar flip, it was an excuse, a fuse. And the FBI knew it because Revelation wasn't being read anymore, it was being deployed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to show you what people were actually planning in churches, bunkers, and so-called prophecy conferences. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. You're supposed to feel that. This was part 3 of Project Megiddo. Let's just say the government had reasons to be worried, and the timeline isn't dead. It's just quieter now. I'll see you the next one. Not sure where I'm going from here, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere interesting.